Welcome to Beyond Belief, the place where we don't just admire the words of Jesus, but wrestle with them. Because what if following Jesus was never meant to be comfortable? What if it was meant to change everything? What if his teachings weren't just wise ideas, but a completely different way of life? A way that confronts instincts, a way that disrupts pride, a way that exposes the heart. And today, Jesus asks questions like, what do you do when someone hurts you? What do you do when someone crosses a line you can't uncross? What do you do when forgiveness feels impossible? Today, we step into one of the more shocking passages Jesus spoke. Words so radical that even people who respect him often quietly avoid them. This is Beyond Belief. Have you ever had someone who gets under your skin? Not a stranger, someone close enough to actually hurt you, and you replay it. The message, the tone, the silence afterwards. Or maybe it wasn't dramatic, just slow disappointment. A trust that cracked. And now their name changes something in your chest. So here's the question. What does Jesus expect us to do with that person? Because Jesus is about to say something that no therapist, no self-help book, and honestly, no instinct inside you would ever recommend. Because what he says next is not natural, not fair, and it's not easy to fake. Welcome back to Beyond Belief. And if you're here today, I'm glad you are. Because Luke chapter 6 doesn't just challenge belief, it challenges reflex. It confronts the way we instinctively respond to pain. And honestly, every time I read it, something in me resists. A while ago, someone said something about me that wasn't true, and it spread, quietly at first and then further. And I remember that feeling. You know it too. When you realize you're not in control of your own story anymore. So I rehearsed it. What I would say, how I would correct it, the perfect moment of clarity when I'd finally set it straight. And in my mind, I always won. But then a different voice interrupted all that noise. Not loud, just steady. Love your enemies. And I remember thinking, Jesus? Not right now. All of us have a system for difficult people. We avoid them, we manage them, we outgrow them, we shut them out, or we stay polite while carrying the conversation in our heads long after it ends. Today we don't throw stones. We send messages we never should have sent. We screenshot, we subtweet, we rewrite the story in our favor. And it feels justified in the moment, but it really brings peace. Because revenge might feel like control, but it never feels like freedom. So Jesus steps into that cycle and interrupts it completely. Jesus says something that sounds beautiful in church, but terrifying in real life. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Not tolerate, not avoid, not manage, love. And then he continues. If someone strikes you on the cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt. Give to everyone who asks you. And suddenly we realize this is not just morality. This is a different world, a different kingdom. Because anyone can love people who love them. Anyone can be kind when it's safe. But Jesus said, what credit is that to you? Even broken people do that. He says, love your enemies, because he is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. God is kind to the ungrateful. God is kind to the undeserving, which means he was kind to us before we ever deserved it. And suddenly, this isn't about enemies anymore. It's about grace. Picture the hillside, people gathered close, dust in the air, and Jesus says things no one has ever said out loud before. Love your enemies. Give without expecting back. Be merciful. And somewhere in the crowd, someone whispers, if everyone lived like that, we'd be taken advantage of. And maybe Jesus would have looked at them, knowing what he was about to walk into himself. Because the same Jesus who said, pray for those who mistreat you, would one day hang on a cross, nails in his hands, mocking in his ears, blood on the wood beneath him, rejection in the air. And he says, Father, forgive them. In that moment, the most unjust act in history becomes the greatest act of mercy the world has ever seen. He didn't just teach enemy love. He absorbed it. He carried it. He embodied it right there at full cost. Then Jesus says, can the blind lead the blind? Both will fall into a pit. Because the real issue isn't just behavior. It's vision. Hurt people lead like hurt people. Angry people react like angry people. And when wounded hearts lead wounded hearts, the damage multiplies. So what's shaping your inner world? What kind of voices are you following? A good tree produces good fruit. So the question becomes, what kind of life is growing inside of you? So what do you do with a person you can't forget? Not the enemy in theory, the real one. The message you still remember, the moment you still replay, the person you've quietly written off in your heart. Jesus doesn't minimize it, but he does redirect it. Pray for them, bless them, refuse bitterness the right to shape you. Bitterness promises justice, while it quietly rebuilds the very darkness that wounded you. Because the greatest revenge against darkness is refusing to become part of it. Not because it didn't matter, but because it doesn't get to define you. Jesus ends with a picture. A man builds a house. One builds on sand, the other builds on rock. Then the storm comes. Not if, but when. And the house on sand collapses, but the house on rock stands. Because hearing isn't enough. Agreeing isn't enough. Admiring isn't enough. Jesus says, the one who puts my words into practice, that is the one who stands. There are three quiet truths that sit under everything that Jesus just said. First, loving enemies reveals what God is really like. Second, mercy breaks cycles, revenge only feeds. And lastly, obedience builds a life storms cannot destroy. And here's the truth. You don't build a strong life by agreeing with Jesus. You build it by living what he said. Think of one person, just one. Not to analyze, not to relive anything, just one. And this week, pray for them, not as a strategy, as a surrender. Because something shifts in you the moment you start doing that. Imagine a community like that. No retaliation, no silent bitterness, no hidden revenge. Just people learning a different way. That kind of love doesn't just change relationships, it changes the world. May you become the kind of person who refuses to let hate define your heart. May you discover the surprising freedom that comes from forgiveness. And may your life be built so deeply on the words of Jesus that when the storm comes, your house still stands. Storms will come. Jesus promised that much. And when they do, what matters most isn't what you heard about him. but what you built your life on. The teachings of Jesus always sound impossible until someone decides they will be the one who proves them possible. And maybe this week, that someone is you. Before you go, don't push past this, because what you've heard today was never meant to stay just information. It was meant to become formation. So sit with it. Because maybe the real question isn't, what do I think about this? Maybe the real question is, what is this shaping me into? Storms will come, and when they do, what matters most isn't what you heard, but what you built your life on. So wherever you are right now, don't just listen. Carry it, live it, become it. This is beyond belief, and the journey continues in how you live tomorrow. Until next time, grace and peace to you. God bless.